Good morning and Shubha Mahalya to all those who celebrate the festival. It's a really auspicious day to begin this exciting one of a kind B2B academy for sales that TIE Delhi and TIE Bangalore are putting together. I'm Arvind Jha, and my co-host today is Ravindra Krishnappa, managing partner at July Ventures. And we are really delighted to welcome all of you to this kickoff curtain raiser, where we have some really exciting content for you to look at. Ravi?
Hey, so good morning, everybody. So let me give you a quick background. As I said, welcome to this episode. This is the start of a series. We have 7 more to go in all detail. So the background for this is that, as you all know, the pandemic has created a new normal. We have a new lifestyle. I've been spending time at home more often than any other time in my livelihood at least. And we have changed the way we used to think of industry events, right? With everything moving to the digital and the cloud, we think we have an incredible opportunity to collaborate. And one of the first things that we did was to think of how to build this B2B sales academy that can be a joint initiative that can also be a trailblazer for this new normal. And I do hope that this becomes a new normal because this is a fantastic opportunity in my opinion. Because everybody talked about the flat world. I think you're not going to get the world any more flatter, right? Everybody is stopped from traveling. There are no face-to-face meetings. And in spite of that, business continues to go on. And in this digital age, I think this is a great opportunity. And I'm so happy to see over 1,000 people who have registered for this curtain raiser. I welcome you all, and let's start this off. At the initial piece, maybe Arvind, is that okay for us to do a couple of polls to find out what the audience is thinking of, what we are looking at?
Sure. Go ahead.
So, Pradeep, if you can just put up one of our first polls. This is to allow us to get a feel for what is it and tune as we go along. Won't take too much time. Just as a count, we have over 340 participants already live. So we'll see a few more coming in. Go ahead, Pradeep.
As the poll comes up, your flat comment reminds me that last night there was a fantastic cricket match between Australia and England. And for a long time, England thought the wicket is seaming and swinging. And then 2 Australians came in and showed us what exactly flat wickets are all about. And they actually won with 2 balls to spare. It was a fantastic match if you just got it. Is the poll coming up, Kuldeep? Okay, maybe there's a little delay. Let's not wait. Let's keep going ahead. I agree with you. Oh, there it is. So, guys, do vote so that we can get a sense of what the audience looks like, and we can tune the content to that. Thank you.
Yeah. So while this is going on, while you start looking at poll, we'll ask you to push it out, but you can listen in on us. So, Arvind, why don't we continue our conversation, right?
Right. So, as the national lockdowns have kind of shut down everything, travel, events, meetings, face-to-face, obviously offices, businesses, all sales leaders have been looking at how do I take my sales team into this new remote workflows? How do I adopt new tools? How do I set up new processes? How do I experiment with new approaches? And in a sense, what made TIE NCR and TIE Bangalore choose sales as a focus is a very intriguing question for me. Typically, most of our events are, about startups, founding, journeys of successful entrepreneurs and founders, and fundraising. Fundraising is a big part of TIE. So, Ravindra, what made TIE choose sales, which is, kind of a new topic for TIE to deal with?
I know. So TIE has always been trying to help entrepreneurship. So our tagline is how do we nurture entrepreneurship, right? So it's all about TIE word itself has the letter itself has entrepreneurship in it. But surprisingly, about a month and a half ago, we had a TIE charter member remote get together. This was already obviously on Zoom. We were all trying to figure out how people are coping with it. And I think it was very, very surprising for us that the entrepreneurs in the group seem to be also be struggling with how do they get to selling in the new normal, right? Selling remotely emerged as the top challenge across the board. And we thought if that's true for the senior charter members, then it's certainly true for all B2B businesses, SMEs, where digital adoption is, traditionally has been low double digits, and they would be facing significant challenges. So we said, let's go pull this together, but not do a 30,000 feet structure, but let's go actually take a practitioner's view and bring in the real experts, where they can go in, look at the sales processes, bring in the experts, share their thoughts, tips, insights, suggestions, etc. So while today is just the start, I think as we go through, you will see a lot more of it coming up.
Wow. So this was like a real pain point expressed by the chartered members themselves, and you designed a solution to address those pain points. Did you also have an ICP in mind? Who's the target that you kind of structured this for?
Well, yeah, the target profile itself is changing, right? But indeed, it's hard to build a solution without looking at what the target audience is. So as you can see, and one of the things we are trying to do is get a poll, but our target audience is actually quota carrying account executives, SDR, sales managers, VP of sales from across industries, right? Doesn't need to be SaaS or doesn't need to be technology. You could be even otherwise. Wherever they traditionally used to go to the traditional challenge, which used to be channels used to be face-to-face meetings, industry events. We think that this is a great help. So just as a point to all the attendees, we don't see you attending individually. We actually are doing it on a weekday in the morning because we want you to get your teams together, right? We want you to almost think of it as a quick MBA on sales that we are bringing to you. And I'm so thankful to all of our sponsors who have, decided to throw it open for free and make it available to all of you across the nation.
Wow, that's very interesting. So did you also do any validation with actual users? Did you talk to users and see what kind of content we should be putting together? How do we know whether the content is going to be relevant to people? Can you share a little bit in terms of what they can look forward to?
Yeah, so as I said, the idea was not to go in and do just a 30,000 feet. So the way we have structured starting the next series is each episode has 4 segments. The first 3 segments are 30 minutes each, where we have the 30,000 feet view, the 10,000 feet view, and the grassroots level view, where you actually come in and say, this is what is happening, this is how it's working. And over the period of time, you can see the 7 topics that we have chosen. We have chosen this across the sales cycle. So it starts with lead generation, goes through with lead nurturing, then switches on to managing your sales team, managing sales quota, sales compensation, the HR issues associated with that. If you are doing cross-border sales, then what are those issues? It's surprising, as we start talking to people, for example, on one of the lead, you will see as we go through, you will have people who are coming in from, for example, from LinkedIn, who can talk about not just what they do and what they have seen, but we also have an extra class for each of those episodes where we will let individual participants come in, ask questions, and actually be provided mentorship and handholding on tools, because I think as part of what we saw, digitization is a major need. My fond hope is that there is also going to be a case. My fond hope is, this is a great opportunity for if somebody like a Scanray sitting out of Mysore can have the same level playing field as, Philips in Eindhoven, that's where we want to be.
Wow. I also see that, you have FICCI and CII as partners. That's extremely good validation that, the target audience is kind of aligned. Seems like you already have some customers even before the MVP is really finalized. How are you thinking about the discussions with people? How does the audience engage with the content that we have putting together?
Yeah, so we had 2 options. One is to start doing more of these polls. So, Kuldeep, while we are on, you should put on your second poll question. We should close the first one, get on to the second poll question. But maybe you should also display what we got as a result on the first poll. Can you do that? Because that will help me kind of so. So if you look at that particular one, right, and that's gratifying that we have over 30%. And actually, if you count in the manufacturing and services, we have close to one third of them being coming from non-SaaS B2B. And the reason I'm picking this up is SaaS B2B are the kind of folks who seem to know how to do this. They are kind of born into the generation of remote selling, whereas the rest have a lot to catch up on. And that's the design. The design is that we have set up something called Discord. Why Discord? Why not WhatsApp? Is because we want to preserve all your identities in terms of not allowing people to call you on your WhatsApp numbers. So Discord is what we would like you to get on and work through. And for posterity, that will be left open. So you can create your own discussion groups. You can also have voice groups there where you can have discussions, videos, and all the material that we generate out of this. Think of it as almost like a Udemy kind of a course that is going online for free for all of those who are registering.
Excellent. I particularly like Discord because it gives you different channels and threaded conversations and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about the speakers. More often than not, we see the same set of speakers at every forum. And with Zoom and Team and Google Meet webinar kind of fatigue, there's always some challenges and some complaints that we hear that there is some fatigue going around. Have you thought about getting some new speakers in?
Absolutely. Before I start off, Kuldeep, can you put up the next slide? Because then I can kind of talk through where we have practitioners, what are the kind of people that we are bringing through. Just go to the next slide. No? All right. So let me talk about today's speakers first while that is coming on. And there's a reason why we have chosen these folks, right? So today we will have in conversation with Rajan Anandan. I don't think so. Let's do this other poll while we talk through. So, folks, you have while I talk through, I'd like you to select who is your primary target from a customer perspective. Again, will help us get very, very close to how we want to organize this structure. Coming back to your question, Arvind, we have the three segments that I talked about. The leader segment is we'll have somebody who does a bit of a future gazing of what has happened, what has changed, what is the opportunity that we can go after. I'm calling that as the leader's lens, 30 minutes of that. Then you have a panel discussion for each one. And for panel discussion, we actually have people who have done this for the last especially for the last 6 months post-pandemic, but even before that for at least 2 years or more. And doesn't need to be people who are like you and I who can talk about it. These are people who have actually done this and run organizations, created those entities and created those sales channels. For today, I'm very, very happy to present two such cases, and I'll explain why we picked them, right? So I will have, if you can come up to the screen of who are today's speakers, Kuldeep, it will help me kind of talk through. But for today, we have Rajan Anandan, who's also part of the TiE. He's a colleague in TiE Delhi NCR. He's the president of TiE, but most of you would know him from his previous avatar, MD of Google India. So Rajan is going to be in conversation with two very, very interesting companies and people. Manav Garg. Manav, I have known Manav for a while now. So think of this, right? I don't know how many of you know, but commodity trading is a very elite software that sits there. So you are getting into one level higher than the ERPs and the CRM. And Manav's Eka has been providing infrastructure and software and a platform for commodity trading. And I will leave it to Manav to explain, but it's very, very interesting to have him speak about his experiences, not just in the Southeast Asian market, the US market, but also of late places like Brazil. So it's great to think about how that has got built. So he's kind of, if you think of Gartner, he is in the Gartner top right position for commodity trading platform. Anand Jain is a co-founder of CleverTap. Similar kind of positioning, growing extremely quickly. And he's based out of Mumbai. Manav is based out of Bangalore. Now, Anand's company talks all about user journey tracking, and I'll let him explain that more importantly. But there is a reason why we have these two, right? Manav is selling to people who none of us see as consumers, whereas Anand is selling to people who are businesses that have equivalent of Vodafone and the B2C guys as their consumers, and he's selling a platform that sits in the backend. So very happy to have all of them. We have similar lineups for each one of our topics. With that, I think, Rajan, we should hand this over to you. But just before that, can you flash up the poll result, Kuldeep? We'll know what kind of market they are in. That will help Anand. Okay. Hey, Anand, Rajan, and Manav, that's for you. So you know what to look for, right?
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. So basically 46% is Indian SMEs, mid-size, small and mid-size. 20% is, so basically we have about 70% selling to SMEs and 30% is foreign enterprise. Okay, that's good.
All right. Oh,
Right, Rajan,
hand it over to you.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Ravi and Arvind for the launch. Welcome, everyone. This is Rajan Anandan here. Thrilled to have so many of you here for the launch of the B2B Sales Academy. As Ravi and Arvind just mentioned, this is a 8-week program, so it's we do hope that you'll invest a couple of hours every week, both yourselves, if you're founders or CEOs or heads of sales, as well as your team. And we're hoping that over the next 8 weeks, we can at least give you a whole set of ideas that will help you improve your business. So we're here to have a discussion and hear from Manav and Anand, who were just introduced. So the way we're going to run this is we'll have each of them provide some opening comments, tell you a little bit more about their business, and then really focus on how sales has changed for each of their companies, right? And I think you'll find they're both sort of what they're seeing in the markets, but also specifically what they've been doing differently on the sales front. So we'll have opening comments from each of them, 5-6 minutes each, and then I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we'll go to questions from all of you. So if you have questions for Manav or Anand, please put them on the chat. We'll have the Thai team sort of pick a few of the questions. We may not be able to answer all the questions, but that's what we'll do. So that's the format we'll run the next 25 minutes or so. So let me start off, Manav, if we can start with you. If you can maybe just give us a little more detail of the company, maybe how many salespeople you have, who do you really sell to, who's the customer, and then we'd love to hear from you on how has sales changed at Eka over the last 5-6 months. So Manav, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Rajan, and I'm delighted to be here. I think sales is one topic which is very, very close to me because I am not from software background. So I started my journey actually by selling. I was a trader in commodities. That's how the genesis of the company was way back in 2004. So as a company, what we have actually morphed over a year to a cloud platform for digital value chains. So while we started with commodities focused, but over the years now, the new name Eka One also represents that. We focus on companies who are in agri, metals and mining and energy sectors right now. And we provide end-to-end digital value chains automation for those companies. So our typical customers are, on one end, very large enterprises like Cargill, which is the largest food company in the world, Unilever. We have companies like Rio Tinto, Vale, which is the largest mining companies. We have utility companies. We have oil trading companies. So we provide to all basic agri and resources sectors. So that's where the focus of the company is. We typically sell to C-level executives because large enterprise sales is a mission critical software. And over the years, this industry has also moved to cloud, as is every other industry. So therefore, our lifetime value of the customer is typically over 8 to 10 years. We have about 400 people globally. We have 10 global offices. In terms of our revenue share, we are about 40% in US, 30% in Europe, and about remaining 30% we are in APAC. So we're pretty spread out across the globe. And therefore, we get to see various trends and how companies are changing and behaving in this in this pandemic, at the start of pandemic, and now post, as people are getting into new normal. So what we have seen, if you look at I will start with the end sector view. So agri companies are doing incredibly well because the food is a basic commodity. I think people have been buying food either, not in restaurants, but now most off the shelf. So results of almost all the agri companies have been really, really good. They have been able to make their supply chain work across the globe. Energy sector obviously is very tough because, as you know, oil crashed to historical low, even went negative in between. So the way I see the way our business has changed, I take it in three phases. I think the phase one was kind of in March, which was a phase which I called responding to the immediate problem at hand. So I think the focus at that time was the customer retention and also helping customer in making sure they're able to manage their business effectively using our software. So therefore, what we did, I got in touch with almost all our C-level executive, understanding how things are, understanding what their needs are. So focus was on very much on retention and making sure your customer is able to adapt to the changing needs. And what we heard from the customers was that we want to continue to make our supply chains work. That was the top things that we got from them. And second thing is they are beginning to think about digital transformation because they could see that digital is the only way to go. Then as we progress into the first quarter of pandemic, between March to June, I think it started becoming, how do you reimagine the new world that's going to come? I think that was the second phase. So I think how we changed internally at that point in time was, taking go-to-market more digital. So in March, we have about a team of 30 salespeople across the globe. And significant component is field sales, which also includes field pre-sales or solution experts. So we have field pre-sales and sales in each geography. And typically, and over the years, we have this debate that can you run a large enterprise deal, which is an annual contract value of more than $100,000. Our annual contract value is about $220,000. Can you do this 100K plus ACV deals sitting in an office? The answer was clear no. And nobody could imagine that, you could still sell the software without meeting the customer, having that regular touch point. So moment we went into June to July period, we could see that customers are very comfortable with online sales. Certainly the need for going and meeting. So typically our sales cycle was 6 to 9 months, and we would do about 10 to 12 meetings, about 4 to 5 demos to sell a software. So all that changed in June to July period. We did, the sales cycle shortened, number one. Number two, all the deals that we did was only online. There was no need to travel. People registered very quickly. And what we could see is a change in the buyer behavior. So takeaway was in June, July, that you can still sell without significant field sales. And number two, the buying behavior is changing. People have more time sitting out of their homes. So they're able to do a lot of their buyer journey early on through content, through research. And as we progressed into the period of September, October, where we are now, it is all digital. And what I see is the entire sales and marketing is even more integrated. I know we used to talk about CRO function and sales and marketing at hip, but right now, a buyer wants more experience online as much as they can, which means, they want saying, can you give me a trial of a software? Can you tell me how can I play with the software even when I talk to you? And this was never happening for deals above $150,000 for us before. They would not ask that. They will say, can you send a team of 5 people to give me a demo? Bring in your expert in agri, bring in your software expert, bring in a cloud expert. I want to speak to your technology guy. So that's what they would ask before the pandemic. But now they are saying, can you give me a trial to the software if possible? Send me all the information where I can look it up. I don't need to talk to anybody. And after I do my research, I will then talk to you, which means the customer journey is significantly now far ahead the curve before we actually have a human call with them, not even human touch. So that is one very big significant change we're seeing. So therefore what we did, we actually reduced our field sales cost. So we did let go of field sales people, but we doubled up on the online marketing. So that's what the significant change happened in the company. We launched a COVID app so we can engage the users. And the reason for that is that customer business is also getting more digital. So for example, in agri business, now all the agri companies are looking to connect to farmers digitally now. It was not the case before. They were all talking about it, but they were not really spending. Probably we will get some experiment dollars. But now every agri company is saying, can I connect my value chain all the way from farm to the retailer? So I can respond to the demand quickly, and also I can connect with the farmers in an online way. So that's a significant shift. Now, when that happens, what we also did, we also changed our offering. So our go-to-market also have a significant portion of product. So therefore, what I call now is a cross-functional digital teams coming together, which means product teams, the cloud teams, the solution experts, and the sales. So we have formed a kind of common cross-functional teams who are able to advise the clients that how they can digitally transform themselves. So that has been really, really successful, because that's what companies are looking for. That how do I digitally transform my business? Can I connect to, all the channels that I was in a physical way, can I take it digital? So that's the trend we are seeing. In terms of other things, we made pricing more transparent. Typically in enterprise deals, that pricing would be like 5-6 steps. So now we start talking about pricing a little bit more upfront. We start talking about, ours is a more app-based software, is modern cloud software. Do you want to take a smaller piece so you spend $100,000 before, close the deal quickly, and then you do upsell? So that is, and the third shift is getting even more closer to our customers. And I say it very often. I think I have become more close to a customer because you're looking into their homes now. Previously I was traveling around the world every 6 weeks. We have, and they would not give me a meeting. I have to go there and meet and have dinner and long lunches and all those things. But now I am getting meetings with the CEOs just on the call, and people are showing their homes. They're telling, this is the scenery I bought here. I met you that time. So conversation is really more personal, I would say. It's impersonal in the company side because employees are not coming to office, but it's far more personal with the customers. And that really helps in, giving that confidence to the customers, because it's a flight to safety in their mind. They want to make sure that you're going to be around to be able to continue to spend money with you. And if you give more love to the customers, listen to the pain points, and even invest with them, I think the returns will be very high in the longer term. So your lifetime customer value is going to go through the roof. So these are significant changes I'm seeing. So it was about, responding, then reimagining, and now in the rebound phase.
Terrific. Thank you, Manav. I want to come back to a bunch of things that you talked about, but have your average contract values changed? Have they dropped, Manav? I mean, you said 100K deals. I don't know what your average ACV is.
Our average ACV was 220K.
Has that dropped, Manav, or are you able to sustain it?
No, so actually, we are seeing some of the deal values have gone larger. So we are doing more deals which are more than $500,000 right now than in the past. But we are also now attracting a significant Excel spreadsheet users who want to start at 70K to 100K. So that way the average value, because cloud, we can meter it down, right? Now my cost of sales have come down. I can afford to sell sitting in Bangalore, right? Or digitally. I don't have to hire a field sales to do that. So that is a significant change in the cost of sales.
Got it. Okay, very helpful. Let's thank you, Manav. Anand, let's go over to you. Tell us a little bit more about the company, but then also talk about how sales has changed at CleverTap.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. And thank you, Ty, Delhi, as well as Bangalore for arranging this. So our business, we sell to digital enterprises, digital first enterprises. And what we sell is user engagement, user retention platform. And that basically means is you got to understand, we help you understand user behavior, people who are on your apps, on your website, and how do you personalize your communication? How do you help onboard them onto your apps? How do you increase adoption of your apps or your website, and basically drive users to your digital properties? That's what the CleverTap platform does. We sell to a very wide spectrum of verticals, whether you are in the urban mobility or ride-hailing business, whether you're food delivery, telecom operators, fintech, edtech, health is a big category these days for us, and so on and so forth. So we sell very widely across the spectrum, again, to all the digital first brands. And our deal sizes, we kind of run three motions within the company. There are deal sizes, we call it small, medium, and large. And then there's, of course, extra large outlier deals. But we see some very small deals as low as maybe $24,000 a year, all the way to people who pay us several $1 million a year.
for the same product, depending upon their usage and what parts of the product they're using. So that's that. CleverTap is present across 6 geographies, North America and South America. We have people and offices in the Middle East. We have Europe. We have India, based out of Bombay and Bangalore, and Delhi. And of course, we have Southeast Asia, operating from 3 or 4 locations: Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia. So that's the breadth and the spread of the company. I think. And last 3 years, I mean, as an engineer, as good as it gets, right? But last 3 years, I've been on the road, establishing CleverTap across various geographies, meeting customers, partners, prospects, and I mean, just to give a sense of the amount of travel I've done, and I'll come back to the COVID part. Like was about 250,000 miles just in the last 12. I mean, pre-COVID 12 months. So that was and this is all international travel, right? So there was a lot of travel. There was a lot of on-ground meeting customers, prospects, all of these guys, and establishing trust, face-to-face, like Manav said, long lunches, dinners, breakfast meetings, everything and everything else in between. So there was a lot of establishing trust by being there in front of people, and trying to build a relationship, etc. What we've noticed, early this year, and then going into COVID, was that we started attracting a lot of digital transformation opportunities. So digital transformation were like businesses that are non-digital to begin with. They either brick and mortar, or they have some other thing going on. And as they started getting interested in digital, they would we had I mean, it was very dramatic. Like closing a digital first business would be very, very easy for us. It could go anywhere from, I would say, 30 to 90 days. And, from when we first, spoke all the way to when we closed the deal, digital transformation it would go on forever, because there was no rush. There was no hurry on the other side to get into this. Most of the companies, large companies, would always have this as a side project. It's like, okay, well, let's get an app, and, let's try to see if there's something out there that we can use to push people to the app. Communicate with them meaningfully, and so on and so forth. What we've seen post COVID from March onwards is that digital transformation guys got a lot more serious about getting online, getting digital, being digital first. In fact, because none of I mean, something as I mean, I was talking to someone and they didn't even have laptops to begin with, right? So I mean, digital for us means everything's electronic, etc. Digital for them means, okay, let's get employees laptops, and then we can enable them to work from home, things like that. So it's very dramatic. Like when we speak to digital first, they're born in the cloud. Most of them are running very highly scalable businesses. Digital transformation is completely opposite of that, so that's that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But globally, CleverTap, we have about, I would say, we don't have a very big sales team like Manav does. We have about 25 people globally, give or take. With a very few people in partnership, which also rolls up into sales. And we don't do remote sales in all our geography. We have people in all the geographies who are there, and we believed in meeting face to face, etc. And I think the March onwards, like that changed for us. Even if we are in the same geography, like I'm right now in India, but I would like to meet people still virtually. So we had a lot of calibration, we had a lot of adjustment to do. Again, ours is not the easiest of the categories to sell. Even if a buyer comes educated, they may have spent time on our website or competitor's website. They may know exactly what they want, but we are in such a nuanced category that the education process takes time. Like, what are they exactly looking for? And it's like, I mean, I give this example quite a bit, like, it's like buying a car. You can buy anything from a Maruti Alto all the way to a Ferrari, like, and everything is a car, right? And then, but depending upon what you're looking for, depending upon, what problems you're trying to solve, etc., all of that changes. Even in our business, a lot of the verticals that we sell to, some of them thrived in the pandemic, especially businesses in the education space. No prizes for guessing. We have seen a lot of exits happen in this space, and a lot of new startups that have started up. And then there was some that suffered very badly, right? Especially in the travel space, ride hailing, food delivery, and so on and so forth. And we were seeing kind of two ends of the spectrum, even in that, even in our customer base, right? So to one set, like, their businesses were growing. Of course, they were not ready to spend more money. They wanted to make do with whatever their budgets they had allocated. And on the other side, there were businesses that were suffering very badly. And while they had allocated budgets, they wanted to save every last penny. They kind of called us saying that, hey, can we ask for a moratorium, payment waivers? We're not going anywhere. And, hey, or can you offer deferred payments? Which is very tricky, like, as a business, because you got to like take a bet whether this business will be around after the waiver expires, right? So if you give them a 3-month, a quarter off, or you say, okay, you can pay us later, like, you're betting on the fact that they will be around a quarter later. It was very dire, but, we kind of, I think Manav said that, like, we are on a rebound right now. A lot of businesses have come back. People have figured out, humans are very adaptable, and we've figured out how to manage with the pandemic around. So anyway, so that's that. I think that sums up, what I wanted to say right now.
Terrific. Thank you, Anand and Manav. So look, I think there are a bunch of themes that both of you have talked about. I think one is that buyer behavior is changed dramatically, right? And I think for all the founders, CEOs, and sales leaders on the call, I think that's very important, because it's pretty. I mean, I was very struck by both what you just said, Anand, as well as when Manav said, you had to sort of have 5, 10, 15 meetings, especially if you are trying to close a large deal, many demos, many decision makers, and now that's all much shorter because the customer is doing a lot more research online. And I do think that has very significant implications on what a company needs to do, right? Because if a buyer behavior has changed a lot, they're doing a lot more research. You have to be discoverable online, and so on. So we'll there's a bunch of questions which I'll get to in a minute. I'll just ask one question, and then in the interest of time, I'm going to start taking these questions. What has been the most difficult challenge, especially when it comes to your sales team, right? So Anand, you said you have 25 sellers, and Manav, you have about 30 people in your sales team. And especially for your field sellers, right, who are, trained a certain way, right? What has been the most, either it could be about your field sales, it could have been on demand gen, it could be on customer success. But if you look at the last 4 or 5 months and said, what has been the single most difficult thing for you all to do? I mean, it sounds like both of you have made the transition pretty well. Both your companies have made the transition well. What is that one thing? What was it? And how did you guys overcome it? Maybe Anand, you can start this time and walk us through it.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Ramping up the sales guy was the most difficult thing, because when you hire more people, and thankfully we've been hiring more sales folks across the globe. How do you ramp the person up? Previously, it used to be, hey, come over to the office, to the nearest office, and we'll walk you through the product. We'll show you a live demo. You can go meet people, interact with customer success. So as a salesperson, when you go make a commitment, you have the backing of customer success. You can talk to product, internal employees, right? So you can, you do all of that stuff. Right now, when a sales guy joins, he's not been into the office. He's not met anyone. It's been like, 7-8 months, and everything is virtual. Apart from the fact that, previously they would go meet people in person. So there are challenges on both the ends of the spectrum. And I think the way we overcame that is, a lot of documentation. We went from being a verbal company to a written company. I think that is a transition that all companies make at some point of time. This thing was forced upon us. So a lot of videos, a lot of presentations, a lot of documentation, onboarding guides. How do you sell? What's the ICP? ICP earlier this year was tribal knowledge for all of us, like in CleverTap. But pandemic kind of forced us to write that down and document and made it available very widely within the organization also. So I think that's the transition we made.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point, Anand, because I think companies haven't invested as much time and resources in making sure their sellers have transitioned to the new model, right? In many ways, you have an entirely new playbook, whether it's especially for your field sales team. So that's very helpful. Manav, what has been the single most important challenge, and what was it, and how did you guys address it?
I think I would take it at a more fundamental level. I think it's changing of entire sales model. I think it is not. So look at from a personal perspective, the word of enterprise sales came down, right? Previously, he was the most important guy carrying all relationship, politics, and people will follow him. Now, perhaps he is not important. He is in fact not needed in all the cases, because the power shifted to more to product, the solution expert. So therefore, we have actually changed our sales model fundamentally. So as you talk, so we have a new playbook now. And that playbook is actually essentially a cross-functional team between product, the solution expert, one tech guy, sometimes small portion of it, and somebody who understands customers really deeply and can advise them on transformation. That's what I call a cross-functional team. So I see a role of your field sales rep coming down substantially. The significance of that one single person on a sales has come down significantly. So we had to go through the entire new playbook. Luckily for us, onboarding is not a challenge because we started investing in online Eka Academy, what we call internally a year back. So all our processes are online. All the knowledge is already in a portal which we use internally to train people across the globe. So I think for us, I would say rethinking entire sales model, and I don't even call it sales model anymore. I call it an integrated go-to-market model, which have a 30% portion of product, about 40% is actually marketing, and 30% is only sales. That's why I call it a new go-to-market model, where you are meeting the buyer in a significant, much ahead of the time, making them aware of your product much early on. And that's how we launched the entire platform team, that you come on, look at the product. And that's where the word is also going towards, which now people are starting to call product-led growth. I think that's where it's going to get down to. Your product will have to do a lot more talking and a lot more user experience. It's the same as in, I think, when you go to B2C sites, right? If your experience is good, you continue to be on the site and you spend more time and you're likely to be buying from a consumer company. I think now B2B have real issues, real characteristics of B2C, which we always talked about, but it was never there in full. I think that's what's going to see now. So you have to meet your buyer. You have to have a significant experience of buyer journey online. And that's where the model would change. So for us, it was primarily changing the entire business model, I would say, on this.
That's a very important point. So I think for everyone on the call, asking not just this question of how has the buyer behavior changed, but then thinking through how should the entire sales model change, right? I think is a very important point. Okay, let's go to some of the audience questions. There are lots of them, so we won't be able to get to all of them. Let me start with the first one. What are the strategies for online marketing, especially when the target audience is very specific? Placing ads on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. And a different question, but what are the digital channels that give good ROI for marketing? I don't know whether Anand, do you want to take that? I think you guys do some digital marketing, and then maybe since a lot of companies also India SME, I can talk about that, what we see from our portfolio companies as well.
Yeah, I think previously all digital marketing would be targeted towards buying or saying how you're better than the competitor and so on and so forth. I think it's now time to educate the customer, your buyer, and I think a lot of our marketing has changed. We organize a lot of webinars, we publish ebooks, not with the objective of selling, but with the objective of educating. Because a lot of the businesses, this is their first time, they don't know, and you'd rather not suffer from an indecision at the other side. You'd rather educate them and then have a meaningful conversation when the buyer comes and have a chat with you. So that's what working for us. I think digital channels, we are swamped by all the emails. I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of it's just crazy, right? The amount of content, because physical things have stopped, so it's all gone virtual. And I think you have to stand out. It's easier said than done. You got to figure out what's your strategy. And I think education, getting the objective is to get a subject matter expert or someone who's done it before, maybe do social proof, get a customer online to participate in a webinar with you, helps give proof, helps establish that, okay, well, not only does this company know what they're talking about, but they also have a success example here. And maybe if I can mimic that, at least I will get to the starting point of that company.
Correct, terrific. I think that's a very important point, right? I think webinars are very powerful. I mean, look at this webinar, right? It's effectively a sales academy that is being running online. So for those of you that aren't doing that, especially if you're in sort of a pretty sophisticated product type business, I think those are helpful ebooks. Manav, I don't know how much digital marketing you're doing, because you're clearly selling to enterprises. Talk a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so actually, so we changed the model entirely to digital marketing now. So we had a lot of events, a lot of physical touch points before March of this year. Now everything is digital. So we have some early learnings on that. So I think fundamentally so we used to do a lot of content marketing. We had webinars and we used thought leadership. I think it has moved from 100% content marketing to 50% of content, 50% of product marketing. I'm bringing in product again and again because I think that is the most significant thing that you are selling. So earlier a customer can get exposed to it, and of course, assuming your product is really good, better you are off because he starts experiencing the product much early on. So in terms of digital channels, we've started using Google and LinkedIn more, but ROI is still very poor in that. You spend a lot of money in Google and LinkedIn because it takes a lot of time. So what we have seen to be more successful is if you have your own database and you can track the customer journey through that, either through HubSpot or through Salesforce, to understand how the customer journey has been during the research phase, the content phase, and the product journey. So I think tracking the buyer journey has really helpful. Digitally tracking the buyer journey is the most important takeaway I would do in the last 6 months.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you, Manav. I think question on Facebook. Look, at the end of the day, you have to figure out who's the buyer and what platforms are they on, right? So, for instance, what we are seeing is, a lot of very small businesses now can be reached on Facebook, Google, and actually, interestingly, TikTok, right? So if you look at companies like Katabook, now that's at 10 million active merchants, right? They actually are very effective at using channels like Facebook, channels like TikTok to actually get people to download their appware and so on. So I would just, in terms of digital, just figure out where are your buyers spending time. So for instance, G2 is a great place to actually reach, small businesses. As Manav said, if building your own database, I mean, that is the most powerful thing, right? Depending if you're, and you should build that over a period of time. So I would say, start with asking this question of where are your buyers spending time, right? And if your buyers happen to be spending time, and can you reach them on Google, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, etc., LinkedIn, your CAC to LTV, right? What's the cost of acquisition? How does that compare with LTV? So you look at a company like Freshworks, the first $100 million of revenue for Freshworks actually came from search, right? Because that was a category that was pretty well established. There was a large amount of search queries, so you could actually use digital, and their LTV to CAC ratios were actually very good. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Both Anand and Manav seem to be serving small, middle, and large size enterprises. Offerings and costs may vary. What size of clients did they start with? How did they then move to cover the entire spectrum of clients? Maybe Manav, since your company's been around longer, it sounds like you're largely a large enterprise company, right, Manav?
Yes, largely large enterprise.
Yeah, so that probably doesn't apply to you. But Anand, I don't know whether you all started in sort of mid-market and then went to enterprise. Any perspectives on this? Where to start? I mean, I guess this company who's asking a question probably has an option to start at A, B, or C. Where to start? How do you guys think about that?
Yeah, we actually were lucky to get the entire spectrum even throughout the journey. So even early days we were able to attract small businesses and large enterprises. I think if you're starting up, go with smaller ones. You don't have to deal with their processes, purchase orders, the SLAs, all of that stuff. It's much easier to sell to a smaller business, and the early dollars will help your business. So start small, I would say, and then go up market.
Got it. Okay. We're actually at time, but I'll take two more questions because there are lots of questions. And for those of you that where we are not answering a question, we will try to get back to you over the next day or two. The next one is, what are the ways you can go about new customer acquisition due to limited face time and trust building? I think we've answered this already, but maybe Anand, you can say a little bit more than what we've already said.
I think trust comes from.
I guess what we heard from Manav and you is people are willing to actually meet, get on Zoom calls and meet you, right? So how do you reach them and ask for the Zoom call?
I think before someone gets online, you got to establish trust to get them online, because we get swamped, by the amount of meetings that show up every day. So send them product literature. Make sure that they don't try to do small talk on email. Do small talk. Save it for face to face. But make sure that they are educated enough. So product marketing. I think Manav said that. It's very, very essential. Helps you build trust. Try to find out other social proofs. See if someone else can get in touch with the prospect. Get them online. Your existing customer. That always helps, because a peer recommendation is the best way to sell your product. You don't have to sell it if someone comes to buy it. And I think that's been the mantra for us for a long time.
Got it. Hey, let's take this last question. Salespeople usually hunt in packs, pairs, and need their motivation to be high and the sales camaraderie. How do you build that? Any one of you wants to take that? I think Manav, I know what you're going to say, which is it's all changed. We don't have.
I think salespeople world over are coin driven. the thing that motivates them most is the commissions they make. If it doesn't motivate a sales mission, the commission doesn't motivate them, then they're not the right salespeople. That's the first characteristic of salesperson. They're very driven by the money they make. That's the first this thing. So that's the motivation. And to make that money, they make the team and the customer buy. They bring together the team, and that was the old skill. So that's why I'm saying it again and again. It is not relevant that more because the sales really moved to a cross-functional thing now. It is not just purely enterprise sales, even in the large deals I'm talking about. So I think the value of other functions are now, the weightage of other functions are going to have far more than just the sales rep alone. But if you look for salespeople, I think they are more individualistic people, and they are all coin operated. These are the two most important characteristics of that. They don't care about teams. How many sales leaders are really good team leaders? They are not. Yes, if you are a CRO, yes, you will bring team together. But for a sales director, the team building is not the first thing I will look at. The training is, yes, I think to be well trained on your value proposition, well trained on your offerings is a must.
Terrific. Anand, I don't know whether your salespeople your AEs hunt in packs, so I guess they go AE and SDR type thing, right? Any thoughts on this question, Anand?
Yeah, only in the larger, much larger deals, like we hunt in packs, but there are multiple touch points. So it's not like, that two people will show up in a deal, right? There are multiple touch points. And I think that helps establish a very broad process. If someone's going to cut you a big check, like, there has to be it's not like one person betting on you. So it's not really the definition of hunting in packs, I would say. Just multiple touch points is what it is.
Okay, terrific. All right, guys. Sorry we couldn't get to many other questions. Thai team, if we can gather all the questions and let's figure out how to get responses back to them. Thank you very much, Manav and Anand. I think this is very helpful. I think, look, the single biggest takeaway for me listening to both of you is sales used to happen a certain way in B2B sales. That has completely changed. And it's not just about training your salespeople on how they should sell on Zoom, right? It's a very, very fundamental set of changes that start off with the fact that buyer behavior has changed. You have to think very differently about your entire sales model, the type of people that you need, product-driven growth, the role of marketing has to be much more integrated. So what we'd encourage, or we leave you with this, if you're still doing what you were doing before, but just doing it over Zoom, you're probably not there yet. So with that, we'll hand it over back to Ravi and Arvind.
Hey, thanks. That was fantastic, guys. I mean, I know I'm making notes here, Manav and Anand. This is great stuff. So for those whose questions were not answered, that's the reason why we have built the Discord channel. We want you to post that in. We will try and build the content as we go along. So this is not the real piece. This is like a curtain raiser. So the next ones is where we actually delve in. There were a lot of those tools mentioned. Keep track of them. As I said, whether it's a CRM tool, if it's I heard mention of HubSpot, I heard mention of a few other components. So we'll try and bring that also as workshops as we go along. Anything else, Arvind, before we give it to the ladies to move forward?
No, thank you. I think, Manav, we are going to seriously think about your challenge to us and maybe rename the Sales Academy to Integrated GTM Academy. I love it.
Thank you.
Shruti, all yours. Go ahead, Shruti.
Thank you all. So it's been such an insightful panel. As Ravi mentioned, all of us have been making notes. So thank you, Rajan, Anand, and Manav, for taking us through this wonderful journey and your view of the B2B ecosystem. So for everybody here, so this is Shruti, and I head the Cisco Launchpad, and I invite Madhurima Agarwal, the Director of Engineering Programs and Head of NetApp Accelerator, to join me on this closing note.
Hi, Shruti. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Anand, Manav, and Rajan for that insightful panel. Shruti, do you want to just quickly go over some of the key takeaways?
Sure. So I think for me, the single biggest takeaway is digital is the way to go. Digital transformation and digital first is like the only way to go, and it is a necessity. It is no more news. What I also kind of got is converting all possible physical connect channels into digital connects has been a successful approach. But as Anand mentioned, remember to reserve the small talk for face-to-face. I also observed that buying behavior is changing. It's more or less left shifted with greater focus on online research. So that's resulted in double the time for online marketing folks. Also, the biggest shift is the increased closeness to customers. So literally you're looking into their homes. But the good news is also that we are on a rebound mode and going pretty aggressively at that. So those are my biggest takeaways from the session today. But Madhurima, what are your observations from the enterprise startup ecosystem that we are deeply drowned in?
Yeah. So Shruti, I primarily work with the B2B startup ecosystem, and as some reports have called out, the Indian B2B technology ecosystem is growing extremely rapidly. In fact, 44% of all startups today in India are in the B2B tech space. A more impressive number is 43% of all Indian unicorns now are B2B, which was unimaginable a few years ago. In fact, 3 of the 7 unicorns in 2020 year to date, they are in B2B. So B2B startups have truly come into their own, and this has happened by them leveraging the advanced technologies and offering, enterprise-grade solutions. Similarly, for the small and medium enterprises, they are now getting the power to leverage these startups, which are harnessing technologies like AI and ML to make things faster. However, even mature startups often require assistance with go-to-market opportunities. And Anand talked about the spend that he is seeing or the focus on digital transformation. In fact, what we saw is that the global digital engineering R&D spend is expected to reach USD 700 to 750 billion by 2023. And we want our startups to be ready for that. So now is a great time to be a B2B startups.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Tide team, may I call for the last poll for today, which is, what is working the best for the audience for lead generation? Can we have the poll up, please? And while we are at that, I kind of concur with you, Madhurima. So which is why we've lined up just the right things we need to know to capture the market. We have seen very interesting questions coming up today from the audience. I think Vijayan mentioned he wanted to know how do you approach C-level executives. Manoj Patel wanted to know how do you nurture clients and achieve customer retention on digital front. Spandan wanted to know if it makes sense to hire field sales folks, even post-pandemic, given that remote selling has taken precedence. So we're going to be taking up all these topics in detail in the upcoming sessions. In fact, the best thing I like personally about this B2B Sales Academy is the hands-on, practical, and use case-based approach. The speakers, they're all people who live, eat, and breathe sales. So most of the expertise coming from people in active sales role with real targets, real campaigns, and real examples of successes and failures. So we can be sure of getting the real picture of what happens behind the scenes for the super successful sales leaders out there. So for all of you who missed the introduction, here is a recap of the sessions lined up. So I hope we can put up the slide again. The upcoming topics for the 7 weeks, the 7 Thursdays coming up. So make sure all of you put on your learning hat every Thursday from now on. We've got you completely covered on all topics sales.
In fact, we talked about the changes in the behavioral changes that we are seeing in consumption of B2B products. So I came across a recent McKinsey survey on the Indian B2B decision maker, which brought forward some of these changes. In fact, they talked about over 95% of B2B decision makers expect the remote and digital model to stick around for the long run. And 3 in 4 believe the new model is as effective or more so. 99%, that covers most of your B2B buyers, claim that they will make a purchase in an end-to-end digital self-serve model, with the vast majority being very comfortable spending $50,000 or more online. So that is something that we heard firsthand from Anand and from Manav, how they are seeing this change and how that's translating into content marketing plus product marketing.
Yeah, so let's see what our audience have voted up. Can we have the results? Let's hear firsthand the pulse from the audience. So I think telecalls, web and videocast, webinars are working great for more people. So that's fantastic. But I think that's not all. We've got more. Let's see what's coming up for the next session on the September of 24th of September. The session is going to be on lead generation, a fantastic lineup of people. The speakers are going to cover the fundamental elements of sales, that is lead generation. So one thing I want to assure you here is not only newbies, but also experienced sales folks. They're going to have something in it for them on this session. So the new normal setting in, it's all about, learning the newer tricks of trade. I want to recollect Charles Darwin here. It's not only the species, it's only the species that adapts to the changing environment that will survive, right? So, and if you do want to join on this tribe, do stay tuned, block your calendar and join us on the next edition. So till then, signing off from the TAI B2B Sales Academy, this is Shruti and Madhurima. Stay safe and stay inspired.
Arvind, any closing remarks on your end?
No, I think Ima Bounce just got a new meaning on bouncing up and down. Thank you so much for people to be on this call.
All right. Thank you all.